NR 10, Module 2, Introduction to Electricity Risks. Electricity. Electricity is one of the most used types of energy, providing help and convenience to most human activities. But it presents serious risks that is necessary to know and predict. Types of contact with electricity. Direct contact. It is the contact of people and animals directly with live parts of an electrical installation. Indirect contact. It is the contact of people and animals with metallic parts or equipment or conductive elements that, due to installation failure, were accidentally energized. These two types of contacts are very common and well known by electricists in general. Although it is never enough to remember that such risks can cause serious damage and serious harm to people's lives. Item 10.1 Objective and Scope. This regulatory standard, NR, establishes the minimum requirements and conditions aiming at the implementation of control measures and preventive systems in order to guarantee the safety and health of workers who directly or indirectly interact in electrical installations and services with electricity. As we can notice, this standard aims and establish all the minimum requirements for working directly or indirectly with electricity. The main aim is to guarantee the safety and the health of the workers. As we saw in Module 1, these regulations are directly related to the labor laws from Brazil. And all the people responsible and all those in positions of leadership can be liable for harms or damages to the health of the worker. Being possible, it is also possible to be responsibilized by the law with penalty of prison or paying taxes, having fines to pay. Well, NR10 also establishes in Annex 2 a working zone, and in this working zone we have risk zone and control zone, as we can see in this image. Let's analyze it. The working zone establishes the important areas for working, such as free zone, as we can see in Portuguese, zona livre; controlled zone, restricted to authorized workers. The free zone is liberated for all the workers to go pass by, to stay, or to see what's going on. But the controlled zone is restricted to authorized workers. Authorized workers are the ones that are qualified for working with electricity. Risk zone, which is ZR, in Brazilian is Zona de Risco, risk zone, restricted to authorized workers and with the adoption of techniques, instruments and equipment appropriate for the activities. And there is also the PE, energized installation point, that in Portuguese is ponto energizado. All these zones, they are established from the PE, which is the equipment, the energized equipment. To better understand, we now look at the table of rights and the limitation of risk controlled in free zones. It establishes the nominal voltage range of the electrical installation in kilovolts, the radius of the limitation between risk and control zone in meters, radius of the limitation between controlled and free zone in meters. As an example, we have for an installation lower than 1 kilovolts, there is a radius of the limitation between risk and control zone, which is approximately 20 centimeters. What means that when we open an electrical panel with nominal tension lower or equal to 1 kilovolts, the difference between the PE and the controlled zone, the difference between the PE, which is the energized installation point, as we have an example, the panel, electrical panel, and the risk zone shall be 20 centimeters. The difference between the risk zone and the control zone shall be 70 centimeters. When we add these two values, the 70 centimeters from the control zone and the 20 centimeters for the risk zone, we have approximately 1 meter. It's about 90 centimeters. Thus, we establish a radius of 1 meter for a value of lower than 1 kilovolts to or equal to 1 kilovolts. We'll now see an example of an electric transformer of 13.8, which in Brazil is known as trato 13.8. Electrical transformer 13.8, 13,800 volts. Where can we find it in this table? We can see in this table that it is between 10 and 15, with values superior to 10 and lower than 15 kilovolts. Let's suppose that this PE, energized installation point, PE is in Brazilian Portuguese. In this case, I have a radius according to the NR10 table of 0.38 meters. This is the risk zone. This is a 38 centimeters radius. So for going to the controlled zone, and the controlled zone, the value we find in the NR10 table is 1 meter and 38 centimeters. Adding up these two values, we have approximately 1 meter and 80 centimeters. We round it up then for 2 meters. Then for the transformer 13.8, we establish a minimum of 3 meters for the controlled zone, correcting 2 meters of distance for the controlled zone. Well, let us now see some important topics also related to NR10, risk analysis concepts and techniques, which are very important for analyzing and the activities in the company. In the company, there are the so-called internal procedures. As part of those internal procedures, there is the so-called alligator principle. It is indeed a funny name, but it helps to exemplify the procedures that should be taken. The alligator in those pictures are at the danger. They are a representation of the danger. As a first step, we shall identify the danger. The second step is to evaluate. Then I control the danger situation. The step number 4 is to change this danger for a lesser one. What does it mean to change one risk for another? Let's imagine there is one dangerous situation. I need to do an activity and I identify and evaluate the danger. So I can change, I can think about other way to do the same activities so that uh, there isn't such a high risk, such a high danger. And when this change is not possible, what should I do? Now is step number 5. Reducing the danger situation, reducing the danger. Well, let's suppose that it is not possible to change, it is also not possible to reduce the danger. What should I do? That's step number 6. I get prepared. I prepare myself for facing this dangerous situation. I face the danger, but I protect myself. In this, as a clear example, we use appropriate PPE. What if I can't comply with these procedures? I can't identify, evaluate, control, change, reduce, or prepare. Yeah, in case nothing works out, run. What what do you mean run? Run from a service, from a work? Well, in this case, running means the right to refuse, which is established in the NER. If you can't work safely, don't do it. Control measure 10.2.2. The control measures adopted must be integrated with the other initiatives of the company within the scope of preserving safety, health, and the work environment. In this next slide are the main systems used by the company. The companies use nowadays in Brazil. The first one is CIPA, CIPA. CIPA stands for Internal Commission of Accident Prevention. CIPAT, SIPAT, which is an internal a week for working accident prevention, where there are many actions viewing to make the workers aware of the importance of the labor safety. DDS, which is the Safety Daily Dialogue. Trainings, what is happening now. This NR training is mandatory for working with electricity, electrical installations and service. These trainings are periodic, and in NR 10 it is every 2 years. And also the operating standards. In the same topic, we have the control measures established on item 10.2.3 from NR10, which says companies are required to keep updated single line diagrams, electrical installations of establishments with no. Companies are required to keep updated single line diagrams of the electrical installations from the establishments with the specifications of the grounding system and other equipment and protection devices. Well, my friends, when we talk about single line diagrams updated, there is something very common. The electricists or the electrical professionals, they change the diagrams, they change the schemes, or they change circuits, and don't update the single line diagrams. Such actions can have a penalty of demission, and in Brazil there is a called demissão por justa causa, which is a demission for malpractice, negligence, or non-compliance with the required standards. Well, these are examples of schematic diagram and single line diagrams. All electricians, all workers from the electrical area recognize them without any problem. And it's very important to keep the single line diagram updated, avoiding further problems. As part of the control measures, the documentation of electrical installations in NER10 are mandatory is a mandatory item. The item 10.2.4 states that all establishments with installed load of more than 75 kilowatts shall establish and maintain an electrical installation logbook. The file should include at minimum, in addition to the provisions of sub-items 10.2, 10.2.3, adding the following the topics. Topic A, for example, is a set of procedures and technical and administrative instructions implemented and related to this NER for health and safety and the description of existing control measures. B. Documentation of inspections and measurements of the protection system against atmospheric discharges and electrical groundings. C. A specification of collective and personal protective equipment and tools applicable in accordance to what is determined in this NR. D. Documentation proving the qualification, licensing, training, and authorization of workers and any training carried out. This section D is fundamental. It is present in item 10.8. We will learn about it a little more ahead and understand who are those professionals qualified, licensed, trained, and authorized, and that they are directly related to this training, to the qualification on NR10. E. The results of electrical installation tests performed on personal and collective protective equipment. Well, it is important to know that all PPE and collective protection equipment, they are tested and they are licensed, and in the moment you acquire them, you purchase them, there is a certification guaranteeing that the equipment was tested and is ready to use. F. Certifications of electrical equipment and materials in hazardous areas. G. A technical report on the updated inspections with recommendations and adaptation timetables covered in subsection A to F. 10.2.5 Companies that operate in installations or equipment that are part of the electric power system shall constitute a file in accordance with the contents of the items 10.2.4 and add the following documents. A. A description of emergency procedures. B. Certification for collective and personal protective equipment. 10.2.5.1 The companies that perform work in the surroundings of the electric power system shall constitute a file including subsections A, C, and D, and E of item 10.2.4 and subsections A and B of items 10.2.5. In short, the logbook is a complex documentation which is under continuous update, and we will understand it better with the following slide when we show a chronogram. This chronogram is based in the electrical installations logbook, the one we have just seen. The continuous update starts with the tests and equipment tests, preventive maintenance, adequacy of facilities, technical reports, acquisition of equipment and or materials, training, qualification and authorization of professionals, risk analysis, preparation of POPs and work orders. This POPs is a Brazilian term for uh, standard operational procedures, emergencies, administrative procedures, PPE and collective protective equipment specification. It is important to emphasize that all the equipment used shall be certified. And finally, audit. In short, according to NR10, all establishments with installed load equal or more than 75 kilowatts shall have an updated logbook with all these procedures being regularly realized. Well, now we follow for Module 3.